Originally, I had Indiana earning an 11-1 record yet again. I had them beating one of Penn State or Oregon, much more likely Oregon than Penn State, winning all of their other games, and hosting a college football playoff game. And they would if Indiana ended up winning 11 games, beating one of those big teams, because they would have earned a big win. One of Iowa or Illinois will probably be ranked when they play them, so you have an additional ranked win. Not that those really matter, but the playoff committee thinks they do. The strength of schedule would be stronger, and the strength of record would be stronger. And with the schedule the Hoosiers have, if they were to go 11-1, they could certainly reach Indy. So I had them doing these things, and I still believe, actually, that from a power rating standpoint, they will be a better team than they were last year. Especially, they will do a better job in big games, and I believe that some of those games they had against Michigan last year, or Washington or Northwestern, where they won, but you saw some holes, I think they'll be more dominant in those type of games. They will win by larger margins for sure. But I also want to throw out caution there. And I want to say, as I pull back from this prediction, I'm no longer picking Indiana to go 11-1, and that means their playoff dreams are in jeopardy. Because if they go 10-2, which the most likely result of that would be beating everyone except for Oregon and Penn State, you don't have any big win, and if you get blown out in those games, or one of them's a blowout and the other's still a loss, the committee won't want to put you in over a more talented team with a tougher schedule, likely from the SEC, but maybe even from your fellow Big Ten. Say if Michigan goes 10-2 and beats Ohio State, or if USC goes 10-2 but beats one of Notre Dame, Oregon, or Michigan. You get the point. Before we resume this segment, please take a few seconds of your time to make sure you have liked the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell for the channel and for any team podcasts and playlists linked in the description, and also comment your thoughts down below in the comment section and join my Discord server via the description. All of those things I just asked you to do are completely free, and they sign you up for things related to my channel, or they don't sign you up for anything. No cost to you, and all the benefit to you because we release daily college football content here on College Football with Sam. If you want to support the channel monetarily, sign up for a YouTube membership, or check any other links in the description for my merchandise store and Patreon page. Thank you very much, and let's get back to the segment. I think that there are some limitations to this roster, and I am going to explain this before going into my specific prediction, and also giving some new specific predictions for this team, not record-wise, but on a Scoville scale. So Indiana, they have a starting, it's really strange. They have this starting roster that I love. I think that it is one of the best starting casts in America, actually. I think it is that good. However, it's a big however, Indiana does not have the depth of a lot of teams around them. They do not. So in my spring top 25, which I still have to update my top 25 and talk about that, and I will. So in my spring rankings, I had Indiana 7th. I had them ahead of Miami, Michigan, Alabama, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, USC. Those teams I'll mainly talk about. They do not have better depth than any of those teams. They don't. All of those teams have much better second string and third string casts, mostly based on talent alone, but also from good development, good coaching, and experience, too. Indiana has a wonderful cast of starters. Wonderful. I actually still think, even in comparison to Alabama, and this is pretty bold, that Indiana's starting cast in a lot of ways will be better and will certainly be more efficient, will certainly play closer to their ceiling, will utilize their talents more. But, and this is where I believe that Indiana's chances against, your Oregon and Penn State are very slim. The reason I now have Indiana going 10-2, 7-2, instead of 11-1 and 8-1, is mainly because of depth and the fact that they are still replacing enough to where I do have some questions. It's not like they play Oregon at home or Penn State at home. They play them on the road. And Oregon gets a bye before that road game. And while Penn State doesn't, get a bye. They're still hosting Indiana. That will probably be a hyped up game. And I ultimately think that there's talent limitations to this Hoosiers roster. And the longer the season goes on, the more likely injuries are to pop up. We saw how devastating injuries were for Indiana last year. We just did. I mean, think about Curtis Rourke. Curtis Rourke was much better than Taven Jackson. He was. And you clearly saw that when Jackson started against Washington, and even the second half against Nebraska, though to a lesser degree. The disparity wasn't as obvious there. You saw that, Indiana, when they had some injuries on the offensive line, that they had a, huge step back. And then at the same time as that step back happened, they had to play Michigan and then Ohio State, who had the top two defensive lines in all of America, I think, last year. And while I believe they're deeper than they were last year, they still aren't as deep as they need to be to win these big games, in my opinion. Now, they can win those big games, but I'm not going to pick them to do so unless I see something different or until they do at this point, because talent-wise, they are just that far away. I still have them going 10-2, though, 7-2, and if the field is weaker than I believe it is in terms of record, this might be good enough to get them into the playoffs. But I think after last year and how I kind of think that two of these losses could go down, I do have them just missing the playoffs and going to a higher end bowl game. That's what I have. That's where I have Indiana going. So let me now pull up some more details. We'll talk about what I think about Indiana again, although since I already talked about this, it's going to be not quite as detailed as last time because I don't want to bore you guys to death. But we'll go through the schedule here. Old Dominion Week 1, Kennesaw State Week 2, Indiana State Week 3, Illinois Week 4, at Iowa Week 5. Off the bye in Week 6, they play at Oregon. It's a huge game right there. Huge game, and I'll talk about why for about 30 seconds in a minute or so. Michigan State Week 8, UCLA at home Week 9, at Maryland Week 10, at Penn State Week 11, hosting Wisconsin Week 12, and off a Week 13 bye, they play at Purdue. That Oregon game is big. I think it's the biggest game outside of maybe at Iowa in Week 5. Illinois, I've already talked about this before in my prediction for that game, a very early preview and prediction that was requested to me by a viewer and subscriber of the channel. That'll be released sometime in the next 24 hours. Just haven't gotten around to it. It kind of feels weird releasing it on its own, but I'm just going to release it anyway. I talked about how I believe Indiana will probably handle Illinois, and I also think they'll probably handle Iowa. But Oregon, it's more travel. Oregon's coming off of a bye. Oregon will likely be coming off of a bye after a loss to Penn State, based on Vegas odds. So they will be angry. Indiana, if they enter, 5-0, the media will be talking them up. People will be talking them up. Lanning will be able to easily use the fact that Indiana's undefeated and Oregon is a loss to hype up his team. And more importantly than that, because that wouldn't matter if the talent were equal, Oregon has a BCR in the 70s, and at this point they have about as many 5 stars that are capable of playing ball as Ohio State. Like they are recruiting at that level. And I think Lanning has improved as a game manager. I think that they develop well. Lupoy has questions, but his worst games were against an Ohio State offense last year that when it was operating at full strength, no one could hold to under 20 points. So it's not like he's fielding this awful defense. I think Oregon will need to, improve on the defensive side of the ball from where Lupoy has been at for them to win a title, but that's a different topic. We're not talking about Oregon. We're talking about Indiana. This game's important because Indiana is old enough and Oregon is young enough to where if they're able to hang around, they can emerge with a win. And if they emerge with a win, then they're probably a lock to reach the playoffs, because if they can beat Oregon on the road, you're not dropping a game outside of Penn State, and I don't think they'll beat Penn State. Penn State is going to be much more well-rounded than Oregon, and at that point, you're in the month of November, not early October, so depth will matter more then than it does in Week 7, and it's just a bad matchup as well. I mean, Jim Knowles figured out Mike Shanahan's offense like that very quickly last season. I don't see how it would be any different here. That, I think, is the most important game in Indiana's schedule. At plus 590 to reach the playoffs and plus 4,200 to win the Big Ten, I think Oregon, or Indiana rather, is a bit undervalued there, just a bit. I still lean positive everywhere. I do. I think their staff's one of the best, and I think their starting roster is one of the best. But their team talent and depth is a limitation. And while I think 11-1 is actually realistic still, it's definitely their ceiling, and I'm not picking it because they could go 8-4, and 7-5 is the worst possible outcome. So I'm not going to pick Indiana, just not yet, to play to their team ceiling. I'm not going to do that. So I think 10-2. I think that's what Indiana is going to do this season. When I look at the amount of starting players they have that I think are first team All Big Ten caliber, second team All Big Ten caliber, some of them could even flirt with All American status. I think of quarterback Fernando Mendoza. I look at center Pat Coogan, potentially Roman Hemby. I think he had a really bad supporting cast at Maryland. Guard Drew Evans and also guard Bray Lynch. Tackle Carter Smith. Wide receiver Elijah Sarratt and also Omar Cooper Jr. I love Tyreek Tucker and Dominique Ratcliffe at tackle. Mikail Kamara at edge is a name that obviously you all know. Aiden Fisher at linebacker. Amari Farrell at safety. And D'Angelo Pons at corner. I mean, this is a team that, if healthy, if they game plan correctly, and if they catch a better team napping, they can, and I'd actually say probably will beat them, even if that team has much better talent. But just given the circumstance, and yes, obviously I'm picking Indiana to beat everyone except for Oregon and Penn State. Given the circumstance of those games and where they're being played at, the situation that the other team will probably be in during those weeks, I think that the Indiana Hoosiers are going to have a tough time winning those, for sure. Looking at some specific predictions for Indiana, a mild one is that the Hoosiers will go over their preseason win total of 8.5. This is not a lock, but I think it's close to a lock as you can get for a team with Indiana's talent. My medium prediction is that Bryant Haynes helps IU's defense maintain its impressive 2024 performance in 2025. So they'll finish about the same, I believe, in a variety of statistical categories, which means that they'll probably field the top 10 defense this year. My hot prediction is that Fernando Mendoza is a superior quarterback to Curtis Rourke, and I'm actually making a specific video on that prediction this week. My scorching prediction is that Curt Cignetti beats at least one ranked opponent. Probably shouldn't be this high, but given how high the media and the public is on Illinois, and then certainly Oregon and Penn State are no easy tasks, and those along with maybe Iowa are the teams that are most likely to be ranked at the time Indiana plays them. I think that Cignetti gets one of those teams, maybe even two. Won't pick Oregon or Penn State right now, but Iowa and Illinois they should beat, and Oregon, depending on, like, if Phil Steele's correct that Oregon is not a top 10 team and Indiana reloads, this is a different conversation come October 11th, for example. And then my Hellfire prediction is that the Hoosiers win double-digit games in back-to-back seasons, which to my knowledge has never happened before. So given Indiana's history, that's still an extremely bold prediction. I don't quite have Indiana reaching the playoffs, but I think they are a college football playoff contender for sure. I love the outlook of this team. I love Curt Cignetti. I think the job he's doing with Indiana at Indiana is absolutely phenomenal. And I can't wait to watch this team. They don't play a good non-conference schedule, so it'll take a while for me to figure out who they are, for us to figure out who they are. But I think this is still one of the better teams in America. They're just not quite national championship caliber contenders. And a certain college football playoff participant due to some of the talent limitations. Thank you for watching College Football with Sam. Make sure that you've liked the video, subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell for the channel and team playlists and podcasts in the description, joined the free Discord server where we talk college football 24/7, and have commented your thoughts down below. Check out the description for any ways you can support the channel monetarily. Everything else I've asked you to do is completely free, and your support means the world to me. We're trying to become the next big thing on college football YouTube. 6-figure subscribers, maybe 1 million one day. I think we can do that. And also check out any videos or playlists, anything in these columns right here, where there will be videos and playlists. Yeah, you get the point. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one.